The Mouse Merchant. This story is a part of the ancient Buddhist Jataka tales and also found within Somadeva's Katha Sarita Sagar, which in turn was adopted from Gunadhya's Brihat Katha. It is about an intelligent and hard-working youth who climbs from rags to riches, making use of fundamental business principles such as understanding of demand and supply, being courteous, reinvesting profit as capital, and making useful business connects. Long ago, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Banaras in the land of Kashi, the Bodhisattva was born in a treasurer's family, and when he grew up, he received the post of treasurer and was called Cholaka. He was wise and skillful and understood all omens. One day, as he was going to attend upon the king, he saw a dead mouse lying on the road, and considering the state of the stars at that time, he said, "A young fellow with eyes in his head, that is, having foresight, might, by picking this thing up, start a trade and support a wife." Now, a certain young man of good birth, then fallen into poverty, heard what the official said, and thinking, "This is a man who wouldn't say such a thing without good reason," took the mouse and gave it away in a certain shop for the use of the cat, and got a farthing for it. With the farthing he bought molasses, and took water in a pot, and seeing garland makers returning from the forest, he gave them bits of molasses with water by the ladleful. They gave him each a bunch of flowers, and the next day, with the price of the flowers, he bought more molasses, and taking a pot full of water, went to the flower garden. That day the garland makers gave him, as they went away, flowering shrubs from which half the blossoms had been picked. In this way, in a little time, he gained 8 pennies. Some time after, on a rainy, windy day, a quantity of dry sticks, branches, and leaves were blown down by the wind in the king's garden, and the gardener saw no way of getting rid of them. The young man went and said to the gardener, "If you will give me these sticks and leaves, I will get them out of the way." The gardener agreed to this and told him to take them. Cholaka's pupil went to the children's playground, and by giving them molasses, had all the leaves and sticks collected immediately and placed in a heap at the garden gate. Just then, the king's potter was looking out for firewood to burn pots for the royal household, and seeing this heap, he bought it from him. That day Cholaka's pupil got 16 pennies and 5 vessels, such as water pots, etc., by selling his firewood. Having thus obtained possession of 24 pennies, he thought, "This will be a good scheme for me," and went to a place not far from the city gate, and placing there a pot of water, supplied 500 grass cutters with drink. "Friend, you have been of great service to us," they said. "What shall we do for you?" "You shall do me a good turn when need arises," said he. And then, going about this way and that, he struck up a friendship with a trader by land and a trader by sea. And the trader by land told him, "Tomorrow, a horse dealer is coming into town with 500 horses." On hearing this, he said to the grass cutters, "Give me today, each of you, a bundle of grass, and don't sell your own grass till I have disposed of mine." "All right," they cried in assent, and brought 500 bundles and placed them in his house. The horse dealer, not being able to get grass for his horses through all the city, bought the young man's grass for 1,000 pence. A few days afterwards, his friend, the trader by sea, told him that a large vessel had come to the port. He thought, "This will be a good plan," and got a carriage on hire for 8 pennies with all its proper attendants, and driving to the port with a great show of respectability, gave his seal ring as a deposit for the ship's cargo. Then he had a tent pitched not far off, and taking his seat, gave orders to his men that when merchants came from outside, he should be informed of it with triple ceremony. On hearing that a ship had arrived, about 100 merchants came from Benares to buy the goods. They were told, "You can't have the goods. A great merchant of such and such a place has already paid a deposit for them." On hearing this, they went to him, and his footmen announced their arrival, as had been agreed upon, 3 deep. Each of the merchants then gave him 1,000 to become shareholders in the ship, and then another 1,000 for him to relinquish his remaining share. And thus they made themselves owners of the cargo. So Chulaka's pupil returned to Benares, taking with him 200,000. And from a feeling of gratitude, he took 100,000 and went to Chulaka the treasurer. Then the treasurer asked him, "What have you been doing, my good man, to get all this wealth?" "It was by adhering to what you said that I have acquired it within 4 months," said he, and told him the whole story, beginning with the dead mouse. And when Chulaka the high treasurer heard his tale, he thought, "It will never do to let such a lad as this get into anyone else's hands." So he gave him his grown-up daughter in marriage and made him heir to all the family estates. And when the treasurer died, he received the post of city treasurer. But the Bodhisattva passed away according to his deeds. It was when the Buddha had finished his discourse that he, as Buddha, uttered the following verse. "As one might nurse a tiny flame, the able and far-seeing man, even with the smallest capital, can raise himself